here.
Yeah, Zhao and Viego being the two champions that stand out to me. A bit surprised that LGD wouldn't be a team that would want to go towards that Viego pick. It really is only played by Xiye, but it's been one of his most standout champions so far. Instead, want to get that S tier jungler is going to open up the Viego pick for Victory 5. You can also always opt into something like a Gwen here if you do choose. Just because, you know, Viego is versatile and can go into jungle or mid. You then have Gwen, your set top laner, and then you're pushing Fearness onto a known quantity of what would probably be a Jace pick.
I'd love to see what they want to go for. I'd love the Vi. I'm a Vi one trick. I absolutely love that champion. It is so much fun and has always been just on the precipice of being on the meta. Just never quite able to make it. Not quite tanky enough, not quite enough damage to be really relevant. We see the Varus locked in. That means the Gwen goes over to the side of LGD. Probably going to be going into Fearness in that top side. And now you just kind of wait and see what you want to go for here. Last pick really to kind of pick up here before the second rotation of bans.
I think you either go Ezreal just because Kramer's comfortable on it, or you could pick up something like a Thresh here as well to open up those more options for AD carries down in the bottom lane. So either way, I think you definitely want to be looking for bottom lane here. You have no reason to show your mid lane pick just yet. Make V5 pick up more options. They are going to go with it, bringing out a bit of an unexpected one with the Jhin. Kramer has played it once so far. Wasn't a win, but putting some more utility down in that laning phase. Going to try and also opt into more of a, you know, a strong 2v2 to go up against Kepler's Varus.
I think as well for Kramer, that specifically this split, he has shown a dependence, I suppose, on very much long-range AD carries or hyper carries as such. We obviously see the Ziggs. This is one of his big ones that he was feeling very, very comfortable on. I feel like Kramer just needs something that can just CS from afar, maybe get like a couple of deadly flourishes to get himself set up rather than fully committing to a fight like we do have to see with the likes of Varus, where you have a lot less range on it on your auto attacks. But the Olaf locked and loaded here for PZX as we look to see what the next few bans are going to be. It's going to be focused onto Xiye. He's going to not have a fun time with all the different bans that are probably going to be coming into mid lane, the Aurelia and the Twisted Fate as well. Smiles all around from the V5 camp.
And I think it's because LGD are expecting this Viego to go towards the top lane. We haven't seen Uniboy play Viego just yet. With Olaf on the Rift, we know that's going to be in the hands of PZX, so Aliez is probably going to be the one to pick up the Viego. You can just opt into support here. Go for, you know, the traditional, like, engaged threats, the Leona, the Nautilus, maybe something like the Leona here to have a bit more distance with that ultimate. But no, they don't care. They're just going to opt right into blind picking their mid laner. Maybe with the amount of mid lane bans that have come through, they don't really care too much about looking for a counter pick, would rather get something that can get a bit of prio in lane and then make a lot of plays towards those side lanes with the Realm Warp.
Yeah, they're at Ryze, obviously very pseudo-global, I suppose is the way I would put it. He's got himself the Realm Warp to be able to make plays. We've seen it many, many, many times, and I've said it many, many times. If you want to be considered a top-tier mid laner in the LPL, you got to play it. It's just becoming one of those champions, and you just have to play this. You have to be proficient on it to make the most out of it for your team. Is going to be the Orianna and Alistar locked in here for LGD. So a lot of safety in that bot side, a lot of damage at the top side. So you can see where the focus is going to be from LGD early on. They've got the two skirmishers in the Zhao and the Gwen, and they've got a pretty damn safe bot side.
Both teams, I think, are going to be looking to focus up towards that top half of the map. Gwen versus Viego. If either of these champions can get ahead, it just can be so overbearing for the enemy team to deal with. And you just look at the rest of the map, right? Bot lane, definitely some skirmishing potential there. I think especially for the side of Victory 5 with the Olaf, you can be looking to make some of these like early plays for dragons. You're going to have a bit more prio in mid lane once we hit around the level 5 mark coming out for Uniboy, but early on it will be for Xiye, but neither of these mid laners exceptional when it comes to early game skirmishing. So that's why Fearness versus Aliez, the matchup to watch.
Let me see the coaches respected each other after a good draft, and now we go into the game. And I actually never know this. What is your favorite champion? Just quickly before we get into game.
Probably Zoe. If I had to pick one off the top of my head right now, probably Zoe. I think Zoe is just absolutely.
You and Ender are the same. You and Ender are the same, man.
I mean, is it that surprising that Malol is the most interesting player to me in the whole league? Probably not. You know, love a good Zoe player. That's why. I was really hoping and really excited that because this is, you know, the last series of the split, it's a series that really doesn't matter, that Uniboy would try and opt into something like a Zoe, because Uniboy also has been a player in the past who has loved gravitating towards that Zoe pick. But, you know, dreams don't always come true, Penguin.
Dreams sometimes remain dreams, as we are jumping onto the Rift for game 1 of this best of 3 between LGD and V5. Quick look at the Keystone Masteries, and there's nothing really too untoward about anything they've gone with. Nothing too crazy. We're not seeing a hopefully we're not going to be seeing a teleport jungle Olaf from PZX, but coming in now, it's finally a moment here for these two teams to end on a high, get themselves that momentum. Just give yourselves something to smile about. You never want to end the season on a loss, regardless of who you are or where you place. And we just gotta wait and see.
You know, Penguin, this is when we give some words over to the Lords of Summoner's Rift, where we go, oh, please, almighty beings of the Rift, give us some banger games, lots of blood, lots of action, maybe the most high-tier game of League of Legends that we have ever seen, completely eclipsing the RNG versus FPX final back in spring. I don't know how we would round out this like blessing, but yeah, we'll just say kazoo.
I was gonna say, I was like, I know he doesn't want to make this like actually religious, so how is he gonna like round it out? Like, how is he gonna throw in like an amen here or something? It's like kazoo. There you go. If you want to end a segment now in LPL, you say kazoo. That's how we do it here. You've created the cult of the LPL fandom. I hope you're happy.
I was gonna say, I feel like that has been a thing long before I've been here, but you know, we get to get into the game now. Jungle clears a little bit standard. Really interesting to see V5's bottom lane starting in lane, so gonna have a bit of an advantage in that early 2v2. Both junglers pathing towards topside. Not that unexpected when we hit on that Viego versus Gwen. Definitely the matchup to watch in terms of the early laning phase. And yeah, we're gonna see who's able to get ahead. Fearness, of course, having the ignite, so going for that much more lane-dominated style as compared to Aliez, who, of course, gonna be taking the flash.
And this is how we want to see these level 1s going. We've kind of learned over the last while that Viego is just going to be able to out-harass a Gwen in the early stages. She'll be able to push them down with a level 2 hit here. Aliez might be able to get a lot more damage onto Fearness. He needs to be very, very careful, as Fearness has the ignited set of the flash, whereas Aliez has gone with the flash himself. So a little bit more, I suppose, skill expression is the word I'm looking for the V5 top laner.
And going back to what you said about the matchup itself, right? Gwen versus Viego very much being like kind of similar to how you would expect like a melee versus range matchup, to where if Gwen can find the very heavy trade at level 1, she can get a good amount of damage onto Viego. Then maybe Viego can find one or two Qs on the way out. But once you are just hitting each other on the wave, Viego's Q range and even his auto range just being so nice up against the Gwen to try to force her off the wave. So of course going to get that early prio. I wonder if we're going to see a contest come out for a top side scuttle. Shadow can always look to just skip his blue and go straight towards it, but I think that could be quite risky. V5 obviously having pressure in top side, having the Olaf as well would feel good. Xiye and Uniboy would probably get here about the same time if a 3v3 did break out.
Yeah, we'll see where they want to go for it. Obviously, the Olaf will have a pretty decent clear into the Xin Zhao. Very fast, even for a Xin Zhao's clear, so we'll be able to get onto the scuttle first. And with the way Shadow has actually pathed himself, it means he's going to have to run straight through this mid lane. But the mid laners are low on mana and a little bit low on health bars as they try and roll up. But PZX now being jumped on by Shadow. Win becomes lightning good at breaking this one down. There's a nice command protect here. Shadow, oh, PZX! Nicely done. Flashing over the wall, punishing Xiye nicely.
Oh, the bot lane's here.
Oh, they're here. They've got themselves a hook. They've got Shadow, and oh my god, it's all gone wrong for LGD. V5 have come to play.
And this was all we wanted, Penguin. We wanted action. We wanted blood for the blood god, and V5 are delivering. PZX went down, but that play was as gangster as could be, flashing right over the wall, not caring about the consequences. And now it should open up to where PZX is still allowed to get that bottom side scuttle like he wanted all along.
I love what, and that is 3,000 assists for Xiye, as he did get an assist right at the end of that one. And Nicely done by him. He did die, of course, so it's a little bit of a hollow victory.
It is Xiye's birthday today, so happy birthday to Xiye.
It is.
24
Happy
years
birthday,
old.
Xiye.
Yeah.
24 years young.
Sadly, like you said, actually does go down in this play while we are, wishing him good graces, as we're going to see. I love this from PZX. Just flashes over, not going to try and get away. I think even if he did try to flash over Raptor Wall, he probably would go down anyway, just for the fact that Shadow has flash as well, is able to follow up. Victory 5 spot lane had Prio. They were able to move on over. Nice flash from ZYF to lock him down with the passive. His flash goes down as well, but opens up with the Q to make sure they secure that kill.
A great proactive start from V5 in the early game. As I said, I love that move from PZX. Recognizes, look, I'm probably going to die anyway. Just might as well trade it. No problem whatsoever. It gives Uniboy a little bit more time in this lane to push it up. You can see actually all the deep vision that he got right before we went into that replay. You see it there on the bottom of the mini-map there, just before red buff. So they have a pretty decent idea as to where Shadow will be pathing. And now we come back into the game with about 1,000 gold lead here for for V5, as Aliez and Fearness going to be trading back. This is the thing as well, if you don't land that stun or the root from Aliez, you are struggling to really do something at the level 6 point against this Gwen.
Luckily for him, I don't think this matchup matters too much if you're finding any sort of like solo kills, as long as he's consistently roaming and using Prio like he is now. Also nice that ZYF is over here to make something of this jungle advantage. LGD gonna try and find an advantage on the bot side, so we are now panning over to that one. Should be able to get at least one played onto Kramer, and it's nice that both Mark and Kramer are also zoning him out from EXP and gold. So V5 putting resources into their jungler on top side, while LGD going to respond with this play on bot.
Yeah, V5 taking a leaf out of RNG's book and just saying, cool, top side it is. Bye, bot lane. Nothing we can do for you here. And Kepler sadly has to deal with the consequences of it, as he's going to be pushed in, dealing with all of that. But now he has his support and his jungle on that bot side, so he's going to be able to push that one back. And an early dragon looks like it's to be on the menu here for V5 as they continue to be proactive in this early game. And that's something that we know V5 can do. We know they can be proactive in the early game. We know they can get these early advantages. What I'm really looking at is that mid game, is the kind of team fight shot calling around the 15 to 20 minute mark where it all tends to fall apart for them.
I just want to see them not get picked off across the map because, I feel like in straight up 5v5s, if they have the setup, if it's just, hey, LGD are in front of them, they can take that fight. It's definitely doable, but we've typically seen V5 just fall apart from either over-aggressive pushes into the enemy jungle by PZX or ZYF or someone. They get picked off. Looks like some heavy trading coming down on bot side, though. We might see a play with Shadow and PZX here, but no, we don't. Not at all.
Nope, not at all. You were bamboozled. Kazooed, if you will, as we see that the bot lane. It's very difficult to make a dive really work for V5 going into an Alistar and a Jhin. They whip out all 4 summoners available to them. It's very, very hard for them to make that stick. And on the other side as well, you of course had Shadow shadowing down towards that bot side, pun intended. And it is a after our nice little skirmish, it is going to be probably a slower mid-game as the Orianna and the Ryze just try and scale up, get their tiers going for themselves. They both have fully upgraded boots, Stork Shoes versus Merc Treads. I actually would have prepared to maybe see Xiye go with the Merc Treads, but whatever. It is what it is. And yeah, no real discernible difference between these two teams apart from that about 1,000 gold in favor of V5.
And we even saw LGD's bot lane drop the wave to be able to move first, so they lost about, looked like a wave and a half to turret bot side. So it even allowed Kepler to get back in gold, where he was about a few hundred gold down before, now only sitting 100 behind. And now, okay, Realm Warp top.
Realm Warp top, this is a 2v4 right now. Fearness has no flash, there is going to be a hook and a kill. PZX picks up his second kill of the game, and that means V5 have total control around this Rift Herald, but LGD not to be outdone will push in the mid.
To give V5 fans more hope. Right now,
more hope,
V5, oh god, wait, I need to stop. I need to not jinx it.
I was
looks like something's about to come out.
Caster cursed it. You already said you've given the fans hope, and now LGD, they want to take a fight for this. There is a flash and ultimate for Mark if he wants to try and go for this flash engage. As everyone's kind of roaming around. Kepler's not here. He is now, but it's going to be a little bit too late. Fearness is already coming back from the base. And V5 just don't feel confident to take this fight right now. They're going to just actually give this one up after getting the proactive kill.
I feel like the thing is that with the play top side, Uniboy.
Uniboy Almost gets caught out, does have to flash away, but now we might see a re-engage coming in. There's a Chain of Corruption going down, but I do believe it got eaten up a little bit by the Gwen. Missed, and they try and go for the flight. LGD have nowhere to go. They've used everything, they missed it all, and V5 do not disappoint their fans and get themselves Rift Herald and a couple more kills.
No, ZYF the one to start it off. After it looked like LGD potentially caught out Uniboy, he did have flash up, was able to get away. But now Victory 5 sitting at a 3K gold lead, also have the Rift Herald, so they will be able to extend that one beyond this point. We've seen V5 get ahead in the early game many, many times. We've already hit on it. It's usually their inability to close that bites them. But one thing that's interesting is all of V5's wins, all three of them have come on blue side. They're 3-21, have not won once on red. They are 0-9, but hey, if V5 can pick up this game, I think that is the big hope, Penguin, right there. They win on red, okay, you go to blue, you've gotten wins before on blue, it's easy.
I thought you were going to turn around and say, hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for what? And then just like move on from there. But obviously I'm alone in that reference by myself. As we have a look at the replay. I'm just going to leave you alone to that. I'm just going to leave you alone. Yeah, you're going to let me. Wow, throw me under the bus. God damn.
So Shadow goes for the engage, but Mark completely misses headbutt pulverize combo because Ryze flashing ZYF going with the re-engage. It sets up for the Aliez to get the Heartbreaker and find the resets for him to continuously look for those ultimates. So I think really nice coming out from ZYF. And yeah, a bit of a missed mark coming out from both Shadow and Mark.
Yeah, a little bit of a misstep there. Of course, we did see Mark use his flash to try and get the headbutt pulverize combination, as V5 were just very much wise to it. And good trigger fingers from Uniboy, able to soak up that pressure, get himself out. 0-0-5, so being very, very good on the L team fights and assists. We do see a teleport coming up into this top side, but there's a lot of members of V5 here, and Fearness, you might have teleported right into your death. They're going to commit another teleport off of the back of that, as they do commit the ultimate there from ZYF, as he has to get himself out. They will get the knock-up and stop Aliez from getting the reset. So much CC. Finally, we do see LGD picking up another kill, and they get themselves a bit of a response back in the top side dive.
Really nice response coming out from, I think, especially Shadow and Mark. Xiye having the TP, so being able to join up at any time. Even going to force the members of Victory 5 back here, so it is a 1-for-1 in the end, but Victory 5 not finding a play where they're able to drop that Rift Herald, I think is quite nice for the side of LGD. Now we're going to default back to, like, standard position, standard lanes, once resets do come out. Right now, of course, Uniboy catching that top wave because he was already here. But with Dragon on the bottom side of the Rift, you expect both teams to start making their way down. As we see the play, keep your eyes on the minimap because both Mark and Xiye are already on their way. You can even see Shadow making his way over. They go for Fearness. Fearness has that W available. Really nice shockwave by Xiye as well to pull some of the members back from V5, and then like you highlighted here, they just lock him down so long, never able to pick up the possession.
That is a lot of CC. That was all the Alistar as well. Mark getting him with the head buff, gets him with the pulverize. Really nicely comboed there by LGD to make sure that the Viego just had no chance to even flash and look for something off of the back of it. So, but with the Rift Herald going down in mid, V5 going to be able to pick up their second Drake of the game. It is going to be a Cloud Rift. Had a lot of those recently. I do believe it was Medic, who went on Twitter and told that there's been a lot of Cloud Souls in most of the regions this year. It's been the most common, so definitely getting a lot of those. I think teams are getting used to them and seeing the value in something like that, especially in this big, heavy team fight meta where that extra movement speed, that extra little bit of ability haze on your ultimates can be the difference between life or death in some circumstances.
I also feel like teams recognize that just it is a very, like, easy neutral objective to start to try to pull enemies out of their base to contest. Something like a Baron can be a bit rougher just because of how long Baron will take to burn down as compared to a Dragon. So it's like, okay, well, we either get a free Dragon or we get to pull the enemy into fighting us, and we want to look for a fight right now so we can, push the tempo of the game forward. So no matter what soul it is, Dragon will always have innate value just from that mechanic and ideal alone.
What's your favorite dragon?
So, I've been asked this before, and my answer is always, I think dragons overall are a little bit overrated in terms of like how much scaling and how much they give you to win a game later on. Because at the end of the day, if a comp outscales you, I think it will outscale you with, even if you do have Dragon Soul. I guess it could depend, you know, if you stacked 4 Infernals and then get Soul on top of it, like there's some nuance in there, but I definitely think Dragon is over prioritized when you probably could get better gold trades on the map elsewhere. I think we've seen teams start to inch towards that this split, especially in terms of those first 2 dragons, right? Teams definitely prefer trading on the top half of the map, going for Herald, going for plates or dives, rather than looking for those earlier dragons. But I think all dragons fall in the same vein for me.
I love all dragons. That's how you see it as much. But of course, the teams do feel like those extra little bit of buffs can make a difference. And those extra little stats you get for a V5, they got an extra little bit of damage, they have an extra little bit of regen. They're sitting pretty in this top side, as we do see Kramer trying to push in this bot wave. Has got himself his Gale Force now, while we look at Kepler, who's got himself the Dust Blade. And again, more and more just cross-map trading like we just talked about, where there's no real objective to take right now, so both teams happy to just take all the gold they possibly can. But with Rift Herald spawning very, very soon, I wonder if LGD just give this one up.
LGD definitely not in a position to contest, right? I mean, Kramer's still pushing out on the bottom side of the map, even Shadow's still being down there. Both teams just defaulting to where they are strong. V5 sunk so many resources into getting their top side ahead. Very easy for them to just put multiple members down there, sack bottom side, say, hey, it's fine if LGD get this one because we will be able to win out more on the opposite side of the rift, and that's what they're doing with PZX picking up this Herald. I expect now for V5 to start looking towards mid lane. They might not even be in a place where they'll have to use Herald there outright. Just get pushed inside, group up as 5 mid, get some siege down with Kepler, and then you can make the decision from there of, okay, can LGD respond at this point with the Orianna and Jhin coming out and bringing that wave clear, or do they just need to drop Herald and then start looking towards that bottom side of the map?
For LGD, they're happy enough to scale, if you will. The Orianna, the Gwen, of course the Jhin will have just absolutely crazy amounts of damage towards the later game, but you are 4k down, so definitely don't want that to balloon any further as this game does reach up to about its 17-minute mark. And this is the test, if you will, by V5. We want to see if they can still be as proactive as they are in the early game while not losing people around the map. Like you said, not getting picked off, not losing themselves to the tunnel vision that is a fight. But with the Rift Herald now in tow and a minute till Dragon, I imagine they're going to try and maybe put that Rift Herald in mid, get some priority there, and then look to try and put themselves onto Soul Point.
V5 will always have an avenue of creating pressure with Ryze in top, just because Orianna can't safely push out past River. So Victory 5 can continuously look for that one to create pressure. It does look like they're going to start moving him down towards bottom side for the fact that he doesn't have teleport up and Aliez does, so can be on the opposite side of the map and still be able to answer plays on the bottom side. They're going to send ZYF up there with him. Looks like instead of setting up for any play right now bot, maybe V5 recognize that LGD are looking for this play on top side, because Xiye wouldn't be here unless he had other members around. PZX realizes that.
Yeah, he realizes it and confirms it. Now Shadow going to be walking away. Mark was not spotted, so they don't know where the Alistar is, but with 10 seconds until this dragon spawns, V5 find themselves on the top side of the map. They are going to roam back towards the bot side, and you can see the priority now is to get back onto that dragon pick, get themselves set up and ready for that fight. That is probably going to be happening now in the next 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, and over the past minute, I don't think V5 were necessarily giving up prio on Dragon, but with the fact that they recognized that LGD were probably making that play on top side, they were hoping to catch them off guard a little bit, probably find some kills up in top, then still be able to transition back down in bot off of a winning fight in top. Obviously, LGD backed off before that happened, but still V5 are able to keep the prio to look for this play on the bottom side. But it's going to give the window for LGD to go back to looking for that turret top. I like that Aliez is not putting him in a position to be dove by the members of LGD on that side of the map.
Well, Soul Point now for B5. They've got themselves a opportunity now as the Cloud Soul. Viego backing away from this bot, or top side. This bot side is going to be crashed into with the Rift Herald. I will say with the Rift Herald, you are a lot faster to take these tier 2 turrets, so V5 might be able to gain on that. And you can see already that LGD are recognizing that potential push as they're going to put everyone back onto that bot side. Pretty much all members of their team are going forward with a Fearness will be enough to scare away PZX and Uniboy, but the tower is low, so a little bit of freestanding gold potentially, and this is good for V5. They're dictating the pace. They're the ones that are pulling and pushing LGD around the map, and it's LGD who have to respond to them.
The thing I'm going to be interested in seeing is when we do get next Dragon up and LGD do opt into the fight, right? Because I think LGD definitely having a lot more of what you'd expect in like a 5v5 team fight composition with the Orianna in mid lane. I think Xin Zhao's ultimate especially provides more utility and just like formation in a fight than anything Olaf does bring. You have the Gwen who's going to be able to pop her W, stand right in front of Kepler's face and make it really annoying for him to deal damage. So that will be LGD's window to be able to come back. Victory 5 though, with their lead, can take a team fight. It's going to be about how they do play through it, right? You want to get Kepler's poke coming out first. You want to find an avenue for Aliez to come off from a side, maybe utilize the Realm Warp to get PZX into the back line. But it's not as straightforward as LGD's comp, which is, hey, you send Shadow and Mark in. If you hit a really nice shockwave, if Fearness is doing his job, pushing off Kepler, it feels like that's you know, a more straightforward way of going about it.
Still a 4,000 gold lead for V5 as we hit the 21-minute mark, and it's been a bit of a slower one since those couple of early skirmishes. LGD happy to exchange gold for gold, objective for objective. No one really looking to push forward and get themselves caught out. V5, like we said, they're happy enough to take all these standing goals. They got a lot of turrets very, very low, so they're the ones that are able to push this one forward. As I say that, we are going to see the Crescent Guard used immediately. Good shockwave to disengage, though. As we can see now, there's the curtain call coming out. They're going to try and pepper down these health bars, but PZX is there. But now, speaking of which, Fearness did TP onto the back end of this, trying to use the needlework. Will take down Kepler, but will lose their life. 1-for-1 after an engage that was started by V5. They were pushed back, and Fearness went a little bit too far forward.
That's the big thing, right? Because LGD were definitely in a position to keep chasing. Even if they weren't able to get kills, get some of those health bars low, get some pressure back on the map for yourselves, turn towards topside river, take vision. There was a lot of things that could have gone about it, but Fearness just getting so far ahead of the pack, being so overzealous trying to find those kills, they weren't able to follow up after that goes down. But Mark!
Did not sweep the bush. Yep, did not sweep the bush. There was a trinket ward just sitting there that gave them full knowledge of exactly what was going on. ZYF does get taken down. That's a nice little pick. And again, this is exactly what we didn't want to see from V5, where those small little mistakes just drag them back, bring them back into the game, and don't get them an opportunity to end this one.
So ZYF going for this hook because they do see Gwen pushing on the bottom side. Open up the curtain call really nice. A lot of members of V5 are low. I think if LGD take this a bit slower, it would be a lot better for them. Like Fearness, I think can charge in, but maybe start turning towards the Olaf. Sure, shoot your needlework through multiple members onto the Varus, but getting so deep in there, LGD not able to take advantage of low health bars to turn that into tempo on the map. And now we're going to see V5 keep pushing the tempo by looking for this play on bot side.
Yep, they're going to find it. There's going to be enough CC and enough damage. Uniboy picks up his first kill of the game, 1-0 and 6. That's a nice move here by V5, capitalizing on just a lack of awareness here from the LGD top laner.
And here we go, Penguin. 56 seconds until Dragon is up. A big fight going to break out. ZYF using his sweeper this time. Not going to be caught off guard, but not going to be able to find any picks. And I feel it. The mojo is coming for LGD. Fearness will be up in 15 seconds, and something awesome will happen.
Well, something awesome for V5 did happen. They took down that tier 2 in that bot side. Again, very low from the Rift Herald charge very much earlier in the game, about 4 or 5 minutes ago. And now we see resets coming in. 2 TPs available for both the Ryze and the Viego. As they come in, they get back, they get themselves a nice little bit of gold spent before they come back into this fight. And it's going to be a stopwatch here for both of them. So I love this from V5, saying, look, this is the fight. This is how we come back into this. And as I say that, Kepler has been caught with his hands in the cookie jar and gets absolutely destroyed. But now The LGD, they're on the wrong side of this fight. Mark has no flashes. He used it to try and kill off ZYF last time around. He gets hooked, he gets killed, and now you don't really have it engaged. It's 4v4 coming into this blast. Dragon fight's going to be sole points here. The shockwave does land, stops Aliez from going any further. Good stopwatch use there from Aliez to keep himself alive, but not able to keep himself alive long enough. Uniboy now forced to flash away. You can see now the Olaf pushing in, gets one kill back. It's a very scrappy affair, very scrappy team fight, but it is LGD who pick up 3 and only lose 2.
Yeah, LGD coming out ahead in the fight. The shockwave was interesting. I actually don't think any damage went off onto Aliez, but still, I mean, it was between a bunch of members, went down in the end. They had the damage to pick him off, and LGD were the ones who started it off. They found the opening pick onto Kepler. Sure, V5 were able to answer in return with a kill into Mark, but LGD not losing any prime damage source like Victory 5 are when the Varus does go down, and we're going to see how it all started. So LGD just making their way in. No flash on Kepler for him to try and dodge out on all this. They are a bit too far into enemy territory though, so it is going to allow for ZYF and other members to come around, but we're going to focus on what happened down here with Fearness, Aliez, and Uniboy. They're going to look for the initial pick onto him, get some good damage down, does have the W up. Doesn't look like any damage came out from the shockwave, but it really doesn't matter in the end. He's just caught between all the members of LGD. And then with PZX and ZYF trying to wrap around, it leaves Uniboy in a really awkward position. And now the members of Victory 5 are pretty much just squished between, you know, all the damage dealers of LGD.
Yeah, this is worrying for V5. They need to wait another 4 minutes or 5 minutes, I suppose, till that next dragon spawns. They are still on sole point. They are still only 4,000 gold ahead, but 3 items onto Jhin. He's hitting like an absolute freight train. He is going to blow up pretty much anybody with a 4th shot. Doesn't matter who you are on the side of V5. You're looking at nearly 3 items for the Orianna, nearly 2 items or 2.5 items. As I said, I'm going to stop myself straight away. As we do see the Zhonya's popped here by the Nautilus. ZYF forced to flash away. They have found Fearness, or excuse me, not Fearness, Shadow, as he gets caught out on his own sum. And that's a 1-for-1 trade, but jungler dead now for the side of LGD, which means V5 might look for the Baron.
V5 don't exactly have a great frontline, a great ability to turn without their Nautilus, so if they do start the Baron, I feel like LGD can just come, play off their ranges, and look to kite them down a little bit with especially the Orianna ball, because you don't have a great way of turning unless the stun from Viego does land. So I like that in the end they opt out of going for that one, and both teams just going to default to catching waves on sides. You know, this game going probably as we'd expect. Both teams, oh, maybe not. Maybe we get a Baron. Well, nope, it's going to go as we expected, Penguin.
Yeah, they now know they've been caught out on the vision. They do not want to go for that one just yet. They, of course, know that Shadow has respawned onto the map as well. And, it's a little panicky, a little bit desperate from V5. They're ahead, but they don't look like they're ahead. They don't feel like they're ahead. They're pushing forward. They're jumpy. They're not quite sure exactly what the right play is. And this is kind of V5 to a T that we've seen all split.
I feel like one of the big problems with B5 that I've seen is especially how they think about vision. Because typically when you see, like, typically when teams talk about vision, they either talk about, like, vision lines or vision pockets. And Victory 5's wards all game long, and for a lot of the split, they're just kind of scattered all over the place. You'll have a ward on Baron, maybe you'll have a ward on the opposite side of the map on, like, the Krug camp, you'll have a ward on Dragon, but not really any... You haven't turned your control with the champions and the power spikes you have into tangible control of, okay, I can see where the enemy is, I can bait them into the space, I could, you know, force them into unfavorable positions, to where LGD are allowed to continuously get these 50-50 fights off where they have a chance, and then it does come down to who's going to make mistakes, and we've seen that B5, you know, sadly, they do make mistakes.
The thing is, with so many teams, with so many great players in a league of 17 teams, it only takes a couple of small mistakes for any team to really take it. We've seen it throughout the season. Rogue Warriors taking games off of some of our top teams, of course TT, and these are teams that are very much in our bottom half of the table against some of the best teams in the league. So you have to be consistent. You cannot let this slip through the cracks. As we look towards a fully completed Zhonya's for Fearness alongside of Uniboy. So there's 2 fully completed Zhonya's. Void Staff here for Xiye alongside his Oblivion Orb. So he's going to be shredding that magic resistance and getting the nice little bit of true damage down if he can. And this is, for V5 are starting to just wait a little bit too long. They need to get this soul, I feel, in a minute's time. And they need to make sure they can end the game. Because the longer this one goes, the harder and harder it becomes.
That's the thing, right? I think V5, I think need the fight. V5 need the fight. They need to come out. Ooh, Aliez.
Aliez, Fearness though, just able to sustain so much. That's slow on the needlework, just so much. And that means you no longer have the Heartbreaker, you no longer have the Realm Warp. And speaking of which, we're gonna see ZYF deleted right now as Shadow takes about half his HP there with a triple stacked Blighted Quiver on top of the piercing arrows. So again, LGD crawling back into this one. They're going to TP back into mid. Fearness now with a full health bar and mana bar, able to kind of keep this one going. And V5 have to give up the dragon, and this is going to extend that Dragon Soul for another 5 minutes. And this is where the game starts to run away from them. I actually feel like LGD are the ones that are going to be the more proactive from this point on.
And going back to what we just saw, it was a bit of a head scratcher with ZYF walking into that brush after LGD just cleared a ward. So they knew LGD were right there, and it didn't look like Aliez or Uniboy were starting to head up, so it didn't look like the plan was a coordinated collapse. So I wonder what was going on through ZYF's mind to where he felt comfortable walking towards that brush, but in the end, LGD do punish whatever his thought process was. They do find the pick. Victory 5 trying to move towards the top half of the map to get some of their own vision down, but LGD are doing such a nice job of dissuading that, denying that. Even if they do concede mid-prio for a wave, it actually isn't too big of a deal for LGD. They can just start heading into River first from their own quadrant of their topside jungle and just force them out with Orianna ball. I mean, Jhin wasn't there at the time, but if Jhin is up in the skirmish as well, being able to play with things like his W or threatening a curtain call.
I mean, just looking at the items right now, you actually have double stopwatches when we look at this one. Yeah, he doesn't actually have a...
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, look at Ryze and Viego, because this is coming off LGD just clearing a control ward out of River Brush. So you know they're there. So, again, I'm a bit confused on what ZYF was looking for. I think if you're bringing Uniboy and... Oh, Shadow finding an engage, though.
Shadow jumping straight onto the two solo laners. That is deletion. 2 stopwatches onto Uniboy does not help you here, my friend. He gets his first death of the game. That's enough of a go sign for LGD. But look, just looking before we came into this fight, looking at the amount of magic resistance on V5, they have none. It's literally Aliez and that's it, but they're not going to be able to need it. Look at the chunk damage that this Orianna is doing. No one can stand a chance against her, and that's another quick kill for LGD. They turn back onto the Baron, 4,000 HP. They jump over, but they're not going to be able to get the blast code. It's going to have to be a flash suicide mission here for PZX if he wants to keep this one for his team. Baron down to about 3,000 HP. You can't really tank this endlessly if you're on LGD. You have to commit to it at some point, and they haven't cleared out that vision. There it is! Steal for PZX! He flashes over the wall. He'll give his life, but not before Gwen gets taken down. B5 not dead yet.
You know the thing that is crazy about that, right, is you can tell LGD do not want to 50-50 that Baron. They don't want to. That's why they were just kind of posturing on it for so long, trying to find a way to get the fight going, because they didn't want it to come down to that smite, but in the end, it still does. We're going to see how this all started off here with LGD looking for this pick. Shadow just finding his way in. Mark with a really nice flash to follow up, and you already highlighted the Orianna damage so well. And then things looked pretty good for LGD here. They have mana advantage. They want to be able to take this Baron. I really like what Shadow does here, where he's eventually going to go over the wall. We are going to see ZYF go down first, but don't think that matters too much in the grand scheme of things. They really don't want to 50-50 this, though, so Shadow goes over. Shadow's the one who hits the blasting plant, and you can tell that they don't want to finish it off because they are still afraid of the threat of PZX coming over. They know PZX has flash up, but in the end, they still opt into getting the Baron low enough. Like, right, they're continuing to hit it, and it's going to allow that to come through.
Just smited it the tiniest bit early. I think he cancels an auto attack. I think his plan was to auto into the smite, which would have taken it down below the 900 health point threshold. And now, 2 minutes until that dragon spawns, you've Baron on V5, but they're not out of this one just yet. Hex flash over the wall. We're going to see 2 people getting jumped on, but it's going to be the first stopwatch for Uniboy. He still has 2 of those available to him. Shadow, though, using the Crescent Guard to keep himself alive. Look at the damage right onto the backside of this. Shockwave only lands onto 1, and it is going to be soaked up by the Ragnarocking Olaf, but Uniboy trying his very, very best to keep this one alive. Aliez, though, maybe he has to tank 1 more. No, he can't! It's a full crit Jhin, and that means you are dead to rights. Somebody had to die. LGD still looking in control of this game.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the 5v5 setups coming out. I guess it wasn't a full-on 5v5 for V5 because some members getting pushed out of the fight early, but that is where LGD's composition thrives, from having the Orianna, from having the Jhin, and having the zone control from the other 3 members in the composition, as compared to champions like Ryze, which are very short range and would be preferring to, you know, playing out through pushing sides first, creating man advantage, picking people off. Even things like Olaf and Viego, as we're going to go straight into the replay. Mark using that Hex Flash to get over the wall and find his way onto Viego. Even Uniboy forced to use that Zhonya's very early on. And just LGD caught between a rock and a hard place. We do see there, it looked like the Shockwave was able to get damage down onto Olaf, but not onto ZYF. Was able to go golden during that one. And all the carries of LGD are still so healthy at this point in time. They still have the range damage that we hit on to be able to find the kills in the end.
It's a dead even in gold. 12 seconds until that Cloud Soul spawns again, but it could be a third Drake here for the side of LGD. We round more up to get behind the side of Fearness, but Fearness is just walk up. Yeah, he's got the minion wave. He's no pressure on him, so he can just walk, and now he's joined by the rest of his team. They now know that the rest of LGD are there. As we see now, there's the Hex Flash to try and get Mark back over the wall. Nicely done by him. And you can see just how much chunk damage this Orianna is doing. 4 or 5 items completed now. You can't walk up. You've no magic resistance. You've no way of tanking this up. That's going to be the 3rd Drake in a row for LGD. They're now on 3 Cloud Dragons. That's so much ability haste onto your ultimates. And things like the Unstoppable or the Unbreakable Will, which has just been popped. We can see Mark just kind of pushing forward. Kepler does not want to use his flash, but he's going to have to. Things like that. He's going to be able to use his Unstoppable Force or Unbreakable Will, and look how quick the cooldown's coming back.
Yeah, it's definitely breezing by. Now LGD going to feel comfortable to continue to go for this push. 10 stacks on the Dark Seal for Xiye as well, something we haven't highlighted yet. We've hit on a bunch how he does feel like the strongest member on the side of LGD right now. And when we think back to that last Dragon, the fact that Victory 5 did have to chase LGD's Gwen back up because the wave was there, it put them in a very uncomfortable point where they weren't able to actually continuously threaten Drake, because forcing through that choke against Orianna, Jhin, Alistar just feels way too hard. Sets up for any sort of combo very easily to where LGD would have been able to take a pretty much guaranteed teamfight victory.
This is where V5 really need to just dig deep, look for an engage, look for a pick, hope for a mistake. Honestly, I feel at this point in time, you are just very reliant on LGD messing up. You still have 2 stopwatches available to Uniboy, so he still has that one in the back pocket alongside his Zhonya's Hourglass, but 10 stacks on a Medjai's now as the Dark Seal does get upgraded. You've got 4, nearly 5 items. This is a Jhin hitting like a truck before he's finished Infinity Edge. This is a Jhin that is still yet to hit its final form. I don't know, I just feel like this game is very much LGD's to lose at this point.
So what Victory 5 need to be doing, which is going to be a lot harder with Baron coming up now, is looking for the double soul lane play on sides, send Uniboy and Aliez to one side, push and wave very deep, try to find some sort of pick to answer. The way LGD would probably outplay that is just abandoning side lane and just continuously grouping 5 mid like we've seen both teams doing. But sadly for V5, they're actually the team doing the opposite. They're the ones abandoning sides a lot of time and just continuously grouping, looking for these picks. But I feel like that just favors LGD.
You can't use the Chain of Corruption onto the Alistar. He's got the Unbreakable Will, and it's on such a short cooldown. It doesn't matter if he has to burn it early. He's going to have it back in about 40 seconds, so he's going to have it for this Dragon fight, or excuse me, this Baron fight. And now V5, without that big CC tool, they actually lack a lot of engage. It's very much onto ZYF to find somebody with a good dredge line or even a good flash hook to just get them set up and into this fight. But even then, I don't even know if it's going to be possible.
Also, before fight breaks, I want to highlight those stats we saw real quick. 93 kill participation, 34% damage for Xiye. It is exactly what you've been saying this whole game, Penguin. Definitely standout performance for him. LGD are going with that slow burn that we weren't exactly hoping for, but hey, they're making it work. They're in complete control of this game. Baron now up. You look at both bot and top waves. They're pushing into Victory 5. Someone's going to need to go answer those. LGD, I feel like, can just be patient with waiting for those waves and just wait for times to where they can push into enemy jungle, look for deep wards, or find picks.
Oh, Baron has spawned, and got some decent poke with the Varus, but Kepler low enough on mana. Should he miss a couple more of those piercing arrows, it would be Not great for him and his team's chances of getting this Baron stolen from them, but PZX has done it once. He may do it again. As everyone just kind of goes in, and both teams have just abandoned their side lanes. But I gotta say, LGD did their homework. They did their work before they came to class, and they got the waves pushing in their favor. But look at that. That's your tankiest member. As we can see now, ZYF gonna have to flash away. He has to pop himself into the Zhonyas to keep himself alive, but he's dead to rights before he can get anything else done. The rest of the team can't do it. Shockwave does miss spectacularly, and LGD Shadow takes a lot of damage. The Chain of Corruption used in defense, but LGD get the Baron. They've got the sideways pushing. They're in just total control.
And you can just tell Victory 5 don't have any answers, right? Because that's why they looked for what they just did of moving ZYF towards the mid lane. That was actually good damage.
It was. Aliez does end up getting over the wall with his Heartbreaker, so he's not going to die just yet. PZX was on the bot side. Just under 40 seconds until that Dragon Soul spawns. It will be Soul, so we will see a full palette of 7 dragons today. And this is a 40-minute game, Lyric, between V5 and LGD, and it's still not done.
You wouldn't expect anything less when you saw this matchup today, but here we are. Victory 5 just trying to force their way through this show. It's so weird. It's so weird to me what V5 are doing, but I mean, there's a reason why they haven't picked up a win yet, right? They had a very stellar early game. It was like looking so good. As someone's getting picked off, okay, Aliez is going to be able to get out once again, but Victory 5's early game is just so solid, coming off the back of PZX's performances consistently, but then you can just see once we get to this point in the game, they just don't know what to do. They haven't been looking for those picks with Ryze and Viego together. They both had TP up for a long time. You could try to play out this like RNG-esque style of pulling your enemy across the map, and then if LGD don't opt into playing it right, that's when you adjust. But we're not even getting to that first step just yet. Good for LGD though. They've been playing this out slow. They've been calm and collected, and they've been able to punish the mistakes coming out from the side of V5. They've picked off ZYF continuously right now. 2-7-6 on that Nautilus.
My God, it has not been a great game, but he's had some good moments. It's just, as you said, just being picked off, nothing he can really do, and you can tell probably 1,400 on those crits. Now the Infinity Edge has been finished. Shadow just get hit by the Chain of Corruption and by Piercing Arrow, so those triple Blighted Quivers procs will take a lot of damage into you as we jump straight back into the fight. This is the final stand here for V5 in this game. They just haven't got the damage. They have waited too long to pull the trigger, and this is going to be the final shots put into their back, as you can see, just ripping through their health bars as the rest of the LGD push forward, take the bait, take everything, and Uniboy, your KDA shall not be saved today. You shall go down. Perfect ace, clean as you like. You'll push in the mid and end the game.
Nice statement from LGD in game 1. Let's remember this is their last series of the split, so wanting to end on a positive note. Victory 5 on the opposite end are the same, but not able to pull it out once again after having a great early game. It is why we highlighted as PZX being the piece you build around. Even getting that Baron steal, trying to keep them in the game, wasn't enough in the end. And, you know, the veterancy, the player skill to, like, the at least bar level of macro that LGD can show is just more than what Victory 5 are able to answer.
I think that's the way you can put it, is just that LGD took it slow, they took their time with it, they didn't want to overcommit to anything, and V5 kind of let them. It was just a 4,000 gold lead from about 15 minutes, and then it became a 4,000 gold lead in 25 minutes, and they lost a couple of dragons, and then it was just done, dusted, nothing you could do. You're too far behind. And sadly for teams like V5, it does feel like the safest option for playing against them has been just pick scaling. Look at that. It just skyrockets, and then LGD won. That was it.
LGD just were able to wait it out. We saw Kramer and Xiye. I mean, you do have such like a nice time with the range, especially as the Orianna against the comp that you're playing into. You're going to be able to continuously hit those QW combos in a lot of fights before anyone's able to answer. And then we saw a lot of really pog shockwaves coming out from him this time around. So yeah, 7 dragons, lots of kills, lots of gold in the typical, you know, mid-bottom tier LPL fashion.
Yeah, honestly, it's exactly what we could have hoped and expected for. Kepler doing a nice bit of damage there, nearly 30,000 for his team, but you saw how little it meant basically in the last few minutes of the fights, where what are you going to do? Yes, you've put down a lot of poke damage, but you've lost ZYF for the 18th millionth time, so you've no engage, you've no way of getting on top of people. And honestly, good win for LGD. It was a slow burner. It was a outscaling draft from them, and right now it just feels like we might be in for that in a game too. We'll have to see. It's gonna be a long day, Lyric.
I just want to say the blessings weren't answered, Penguin. That's I'll end on that one.
Not answered yet. Not answered yet. We are gonna send it to a break, and when we return, game 2 of the final best of 3 for LG.